Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harrison Townsend, and today I'll be discussing the concept of identity amongst Indigenous Australians, utilising the poem Real by artist and actor Stephen Oliver. Self-identity and cultural identity is seen as one of the most important concepts within Indigenous knowledge. Due to the multitude of Indigenous Australians, there can be no perfect expression of Indigenous Australian identity. The Australian government does give the definition of Indigenous Australians as people of Indigenous Australian descent who are accepted within Indigenous Australian communities. This, however, has many issues, with a more culturally appropriate definition including not just genetics, but also spirituality. Indigenous Australian identity is not something which focuses on the present, but envisions the past generations, cultures, and ideologies. Harrison himself would state that many Indigenous Australian students hide their feelings of fear and vulnerability as a way to maintain their personal identity whilst feeling out of depth in the classroom. This is primarily done due to the misconceptions of Indigenous Australian identities, which is they are an aggressive, untrustworthy, unreliable, or an irresponsible peoples. Within artist and actor Stephen Oliver's spoken word poem, he analyses the Indigenous Australian identity, challenging the ideal Indigenous Australian person. For the next minute, please sit back and relax whilst watching this short clip of Stephen Oliver's poem, Real, addressed within the 2015 NAIDOC Week.
Half-caste, he said to me, that I wasn't one of those real Aborigines. I said he spent some time with them in the outback, then he looked at my skin, said I wasn't even black. I was more of a brown, he went on to explain, his voice the whole time with a certain disdain. He stared a bit longer and said, I suppose when I look at your face, I see a bit of the nose. Oh, I said, a bit taken aback to this obvious expert on everything black, my head in a muddle just trying to see why this man had a need to be questioning me. He stared a bit longer, so I said to the guy, are you waiting for me to try and justify the complexities of identity when it comes to Aboriginality? Well, he said in a know-it-all voice, I don't understand how you made a choice, proclaiming that you're an Aboriginal when it's obvious that you're not really a fool.
As you could all clearly observe, this part of Stephen Oliver's speech clearly demonstrates his frustration with the idea of Indigenous Australian identity being challenged due to his physical description. To be specific, the challenger points out his skin pigmentation as well as his facial characteristics, specifically how his skin is not black and how his nose looks Aboriginal. His spoken word poem emphasises exactly how confronting it can be to have your own personal identity challenged by somebody who does not understand your history, your culture, or your beliefs. In trying to define identity, it is impossible without including cultural heritage. Over the course of this speech, we have spoken about what identity is amongst Indigenous Australians, how it can affect how people act within society, as well as how others would describe them. It is important to remember that when we, as pre-service teachers, graduate, we understand that there is no perfect concept of identity, that a plethora of factors influence an individual and defines their personal identity within today's prejudiced society. In conclusion, I hope this information helps to provide you with knowledge to guide those searching to discover their own personal identities and to educate others on the importance of Indigenous Australian identity.